Hello, guys. It's Friday. You know what that means? It's time for another rum and real estate. Got a new one for you today. This is one that I picked up. Actually, the first time I had this rum, it's called Botran. It was actually one of Dana's swimming buddies. She does swimming at the Crawford School, the Masters swimming, and one of her swimming buddies is actually from Guatemala, and he brought me back a little small bottle of this Botran rum. Couldn't read a thing on the label, but it was absolutely delicious, and I finished it off immediately. This was last year. Of course, you know, from the last video, I went to Specs, and I found a bottle of this particular rum at Specs. You cannot get this here. I have to probably order it. I'm going to show you the label. It is Botran. It is, again, it's a Guatemalan rum. And it is all in Spanish, and the reason why it's empty is not because I'm a lush that would drink an entire bottle in like a week, but if you can see right there, unfortunately when I pulled the cork out, part of it broke off, and it's in the bottle. So I have the rest of this in a cantina right now, or what's the word? Cans, whatever it is. The little glass thing that put the rum in. That's what I have it in right now. So I have a little bit of this right here. The way this rum is made is that because it's in Guatemala and it's surrounded by, you know, it's got the Pacific on one side and the Atlantic on the other, plus all the volcanic activity that's there. The sugar, it's pretty fertile actually to grow the sugar cane, but they grow it in very high altitudes. And so what they describe as and I actually have a little bit of the information here, is that because it can cool, it's cooler temperatures, so it actually maintains some of the flavors better than, say, in some of the very hot climates like in the Caribbean. As far as the taste is concerned, I say if you like whiskey and you want just a hint of like a rum flavor with whiskey, I know we're seeing a lot of new rums now that are made in whiskey barrels. We see whiskeys that are made in rum barrels. This is a true rum, but it does have a hint of a bourbon-type flavor to it. On ice, it's fantastic. I'm going to drink it slowly because I don't know when next time I'm going to be able to get to Houston to go get some more. So if any of y'all in Houston, you're driving through Baton Rouge, and you want to drop off a bottle, let me know. Cheers. All right, so today's topic is refinancing. I had a client of mine call me yesterday, and this is where the inspiration for this video came from. She was going through a refi with her loan officer, and then it got to the point where they were getting the disclosures, and she wanted to ask me if this makes sense for her. Well, I just sold her the house. I think it was December of last year, and they had a 5.25% interest rate, which was actually pretty high in December. But as we know, from January, these interest rates are coming down. And so when they went to go do a refi, they got a 3.875% interest rate. And it's like, whoa, that is an amazing, you know, difference. You can save some money this way. However, you have to, even with that, if all else is staying equal, they should have been saving about $150, $160 a month on their loan. But by the time they got to the disclosures of what the actual savings was going to be, what the closing was going to look like, it only showed that they were making saving $50. And so she asked me what the difference was here. And before I get to why, I have to explain how they, you know, when you do a refi. And I always use some rules of thumb that my father actually taught me years ago, and they've held true to this day because I've refied 3 or 4 times over the years of the houses I've had. And that is, you don't start even thinking about a refinance unless you're going to save at least 1% on your interest rate. 1%. So if you had 5 and you're looking at 4, then that's great. In my client's case, she was going to save 1.375% on their interest rate. So she was on the right track. You know, I can save my interest rate. The principal and interest amount was going to be reduced by $150 a month. That's a significant amount of money through the year. But the thing that catches a lot of people when it comes to refinancing is that it's like you're buying your house again. There's going to be closing costs. You're going to pay for all the loan origination. You're going to pay for the appraisal. You're going to pay for all the title and document prep. You're paying for You're going to be paying for the insurance, the prepaid insurance, and the taxes again. These are all things that when you purchase a home, sometimes they're negotiated into either the price of the house, like seller paid closing costs, like I did in one of my previous videos, or you're coming out of your pocket yourself. In my client's case, she had about $5,100 in closing costs associated with this refinance. In their particular case, they had a significant amount of equity that they had, the down payment they put down on the house. They weren't refinancing to cash out, to take money out to say do work. They were just trying to lower the note. The issue here was that if they had, and I'm just going to use numbers here, if they had $150,000 of the previous balance and they had $5,000 in closing, they weren't refinancing $150,000. They were refinancing $155,000 because it was being rolled into the loan. The $5,000 in closing costs was being rolled into the loan so they could actually refinance and not have to come to the table with anything. This changed the entire deal completely because she's financing more at a lower interest rate. However, the I think it was like $160 she was supposed to be saving a month, because they rolled that closing cost into the loan for the refinance, it only ended up saving her about $50 a month, $600 a year. And the reason this matters is like, well, why would you do that? Is $50 money? Yeah, any dollar is good if you can save it. However, what is the cost? She's spending or financing $5,000 in order to save $50 a month. If you do the math, if you save $50 a month, how long would it take you to, or $50 or $60, what I had calculated is it would have taken her 8 years to recoup that $5,000 that she spent to do the refinance. And when you start to think about numbers like that, like, well, even if you paid that $5,000 out of your own pocket to save $50, that's a long time. And you may not, if the average person only stays in their house 7 years or less, you're never going to recoup the amount that you spent to try and save money. It's an awkward conversation to say, I'm going to spend this money in order to save money, but it's how you do it. In my client's case, I ended up recommending to her that she just stay put at 5.25% because their principal balance is at a point where it's low enough that even if she refinances everything and rolls in all the closing costs, it wasn't going to save her enough money. It doesn't make sense to go through this trouble. Increase your principal balance to save $50. Had it been the $150 that she was saving? Absolutely. So there's a rule of thumb that I spoke of, my dad gave me, and it was, when you're going to think about doing a refinance, think about how long that time frame is going to be to pay yourself back. You're going to have to put some money up front. Either it's you're paying the closing costs out of your pocket, or even if you're financing it into the loan so you don't have to bring anything to closing. Whatever that number is, in this case it was $5,000. How long is it going to take for you to pay yourself back? And if it's more than 2 to 3 years, I'm always going to be the one that's going to advise you to sit tight, because if it's longer than that, and based on the averages of how long people stay in homes, you may not ever make that money back. And that's where having a long-term plan about what you think you're going to do with the house. Typically, people refinance a house because they're either going to take money out to work on it, or in the case of my friend, my client here, she wanted to just save some money in her loan. But it wasn't going to be enough to bring that note down. It's going to make a significant dent. It was actually going to cost her more money over time because it's adding to how much they owed on the house. And, I had another note here is because I like this benchmark because it should be considered only if you intend to stay in the house. If you stay in the house at least 2 to 3 more years, then I would start to say, okay, this makes sense. Let's do it. But only if it took, 2.5 years of $150 in savings a month to pay off whatever it costs to close, let's go for it. In this case, I had recommended to her that while the initial intention, the math at first made sense, the way it was structured here for her, I wouldn't have taken this refinance deal if I was her. And so this is like what I call like the second and third level thinking when it comes to doing the refinancing. You have to make sure how you're going to pay for it, as well as what it is you're refinancing, the principal balance that's left on the loan. In her case, it was going to take probably another 2 years of paying on her mortgage as it was. If she was able to refinance at today's rates, which we cannot guarantee, that it would have made sense. She would start saving $150, $160 a month on her note. And it is this type of analysis that I like to do for anybody. After you sell your house, or if you purchase a house with me, this is the kind of thing that I like to do, is because buying the home, as you've heard me say a lot of times, is a long-term investment. And my goal is to be that long-term kind of real estate advisor. Is this a smart move? Is this not a smart move? Here's some other ways to think about it to make sure that it's going to make sense for you long-term. If you guys have done refis, I'd like to hear some of your stories about them, because there's so many different ways you can structure them. It was just in this case for my client, what she had been given wasn't the proper way, I think, to have structured this deal. And I hope that maybe they can go back and maybe rework something for it to make it work. However, with the numbers, I don't know if there was a way, or else I would have probably sat there, because my analytical mind would have sat there and tried to figure it out. So, and I just kind of spit here on the table. It's kind of weird. But I'm going to finish off this rum. If you want, leave some comments. Let me know what some of your refi stories are. And if we have enough comments, I have a couple of my own that involve adjustable rate mortgages, which might be a next topic of mine, because I think I'm probably the only person I know that still even talks about them. All my lender friends tell me that I'm the only one that ever asks about them. But there is a time and place to use those. A refi can be one of those reasons, and I can talk about it another time. Happy Friday, guys. I would say go grab a bottle of this. If you do find it, please let me know, and I will talk to you guys later.